Greetings and salutations, YouTubers. This is ZillaFan85, and I, of course, represent YouTube's bargain basement of the airwaves. Back today with my latest video, my latest figure review. It's, of course, my first video of the 2026 calendar year. So obviously, I just wanted to kind of kick things off here, and I decided for this one, let's go ahead and review my MonsterArts Little Godzilla figure. So definitely need to cover more ground as far as my MonsterArts figures goes. So figured let's go ahead and, start here. So again, Little Godzilla featured in the 1994 film Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. Not my personal favorite, Everett, don't jump at me for that. I'd say that because my good friend Everett, Godzilla Fan Freaks, he's actually a big time fan of Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. It's my personal least favorite of the Heisei film, but to each his own, I guess you should say. I do like SpaceGodzilla as a kaiju, though, but nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and review my Little Godzilla here today, and I do like this incarnation of Little Godzilla as well, especially when you compare him to, Minya. I will definitely say that he is definitely the cuter of the two, in my opinion, anyways. And I know I don't personally mind Minya either, but I do kind of like the look of Little Godzilla better. But, that's just me. So anyways, folks, so without too much further ado, let's just go ahead and jump on into this sucker. So we're going to start with the paint and the detail work here. Very, very gorgeously done for Little Godzilla. Really, really looks screen accurate in my opinion. So let's start at the face here. We're going to take a look. He's got those nice big puppy dog bulging eyes that he's got there. Done in this sort of like paint, like this brown paint for the eyeballs or the the eyes themselves. You got the whites in the eyes in the back, as you guys can see. And then the more center part of the eyes done in that brown paint, and then the black dots for the pupils, the larger black circles, really, I should say, to just kind of give him that wide-eyed look, which again is very, very screen accurate. So really, really nicely done. I believe these are decals, but nonetheless very nicely applied, I think. Not looking sloppy or cross-eyed or anything. So did a very good job on this, I think. And anyways, otherwise for the face itself, you got like all the scales and wrinkles around the face, all done in this sort of foresty military green, if you will, and you can see some black wash done as about it as well, just to give it a little extra pop. So very, very nicely done. You got the nostrils etched in there, and again some wrinkles and folds along his snout. Very, very cool. You got the mouth there with the teeth that are, you have a couple like sort of dragon fangs there. And otherwise, the teeth are pretty much on the smaller side, probably on the not as sharp as Godzilla's side, I guess you would say. And you got some very deep, like red or maroon for the inside of the mouth. You can depict it as much as I can, get it to look inside the mouth. Anyways, you can see for the roof, and then for the tongue and everything, and again, all in that deep reddish, maroonish color. Very, very nicely done, though, folks. And again, more of the scales and everything done around the outer part of the face into the neck. Got the ears. They're captured here well. Depicted pretty nicely, I should say. Again, all this done in that foresty green with some black wash throughout. And you got the lines and segments done for the front part of his neck there, as you guys can see. So again, more wrinkles and folds as well. So again, captured very, very nicely in that foresty green. And then you got more of like this creamish color for his chest and abdomen area. And again, the scaling done throughout and textured very, very well for all the scales, as you guys can see. And it sort of blends into the foresty green as you reach the outer parts of like the chest and abdomen as it goes into the main part of his body there. You got the his arms, again, all done in that foresty green with a little bit of black wash and some shading of green as well, you can see. And I got all the scales and everything all along his arms into his hands there. And he got the sort of nubby claws that he's got. Again, signature of Little Godzilla's design. And some nice patterning for the palms there. As you guys can see, the lines and everything done for his palms on the insides of his hands. And the nubby claws done in that sort of like a tannish bone color, if you will. So again, you guys can depict that. Done pretty darn nicely, though, I think. And again, more of the foresty green, the scaling and everything done along his body here, and then of course down into the very chunky little legs that he's got there. All the scaling and everything and different shades of green. You got mostly the foresty military green, but you got a little bit lighter shading as well. And of course, like I said, the black wash throughout. So really done nicely. And down into the feet. Again, more of the scales and everything. And all again in that foresty green color with some black wash. Nice detail work captured on the undersides of his feet as well, as you guys can see. Capture all the cracks and lines and grooves and everything. And again, more of those sort of nubby claws that he's got done in that tannish bone color for the toe claws there, as you guys can see. Very, very cool. And then he got down into his tail there, multi-segmented, so signature of like a Godzilla design, of course, skin. The main foresty green done throughout, and of course some black wash and everything as well. You guys can just see all that patterning for the tail. And then of course you got his row of dorsal plating, the dorsal plates that run all down his back, signature of Daddy Godzilla there. Or surrogate dad, if you want to consider him that, like an adopted father, but I just more or less consider him his son. So but again, done in this sort of like this grayish or milky-ish color, almost like a milky kind of white for the dorsal plates. As you guys can see all the spines that go down his back there, and these, unlike Godzilla, they're really they're very like more rounded, more nubby. So again, just kind of showcasing that he's, you know, essentially a child monster, so he's not fully developed yet. So, but a good detail or a good job capturing all that detail, I would say, for the spines there, the dorsal plates. So, other than that, I think that pretty much does wrap it up as far as his paint and his detail work goes. Here, I'm just trying to get him to stand for me. If he wants to cooperate without having a balance on the table. But anyways, though, folks, so you guys could see that there. So moving on, as far as articulation goes, so again, a MonsterArts figure, so it's pretty well articulated, but not as well articulated as a lot of other figures in the line. So what we do have here, there's nothing in the neck or the head area. You do have what I think is really just a hinge for the jaw, the lower jaw there. I mean, it could be a ball joint, but may still be a ball joint. Just doesn't feel like it really rotates there. Personally, I think a hinge would be better off for the jaws, but, you know, is what it is. Anyway, so you can close it pretty much all the way like that, and then open it. Mine only opens about that far. I don't know if other people's, if there's figures, can open wider than that, but that's what we're about looking at there. And then you've got ball joints done at the shoulders here, so he can not so much do a T-pose. He's hindered by the sculpt here on this, but you can get him out like that. You can come in like that. You can rotate essentially all the way around. Just gotta kind of play with it a little bit there. dust there. All right. But you guys can see, though, you can pretty much rotate them all the way around, and you can swivel a little bit as well, ever so slightly, folks, like that. And then, of course, you got a ball joint here. I believe a single ball joint at the elbow area for both arms. So you can hinge out, you can hinge in like that. You can rotate a little bit and spread outward like that. So, all right. So other than that, you do have a ball joint at the wrist area for both hands. So you can hinge in and out, and rotate. So you get the swivel hinge combination there. So, and then next you've got a ball joint here at the abdomen area right below the chest. So you can get him to bend down about that much without forcing it too much. And then, of course, you can hinge back like that. So ever so slightly. Again, the sculpt is really going to hinder the movement. So a little bit. And you can twist ever so slightly as well, as you guys can see, just to get him in a little bit different poses there. And then you get a little bit of back and forth like that. So side to side, I guess I should say. So a little bit of range of motion, nothing too crazy. And here at the hips, where the legs join into the body there, the abdomen, lower part of the body, the hips there. So you do have a ball joint, but again, very, very limited range of motion. You can hinge out about that much, hinge in about that much. Of course, you can kick forward. You can maybe get it to go all the way around, but I don't know. It seems kind of hindered by the sculpt, but you can go back about that far, up about like that without really pushing it too much. So, and then of course you get a little bit of swivel. So you can see here, forward, back, like I said, and then a little bit of rotation. So, and then you have a ball joint here at the knees, both knees. So you can hinge in, outward like that on both knees. That is a pretty decent range of motion. You can, of course, swivel here. This is like a floating piece for the kneecaps, essentially. So you can swivel both of them there. And a little bit of side to side, but yep. And then, of course, you get a ball joint here at the ankles for the foot, where it joins into the foot there. So you can hinge forward about like that, hinge out like that. Of course, you get a little bit of rotation as well, and very, very limited pivot, but you do have a little bit there, as you guys can see. So just to kind of showcase for you. Okay, and then other than that, you do have effectively a ball joint here at the base of the tail where it joins into the body. So you can swivel and turn it a very, very little bit. You can swivel it more like that, but trying to go like side to side or up and down, very, very limited. And that's about it. So anyways, that pretty much covers it for his articulation. Now, as far as accessories go, so as you guys probably saw from the thumbnail, so you do have this base that's supposed to represent the little crystal imprisonment that SpaceGodzilla put Little Godzilla in. So you guys can see here, and it does come in several pieces here. I'll show you a couple other parts of this too. You got these little things. They gave me a couple extra in the box there that are essentially connectors to connect. You got these two translucent orange bases. You peg these in on the underside to get them to stick together. So there's two extra that they provide in the box. So anyways, and just to kind of show you the underside of it, and that's where the two connectors go into place there. So that's pretty cool. I guess you could probably even use these as well. Well, I don't know about that. It seems like they might be too far apart, but all right. you guys can see, and you got like I said, like this nice translucent orange for the base that's done there, and then of course you got the crystals here. I'll take them out like that, so you can see like a milky, almost like a milky clear color, I guess, if you will. So, and these each have hinges on them here, as you guys can see. So this way you can change the posing on these, and then they connect into the base like that. So, and show you the larger one here. So you got two smaller ones and you got two larger ones. So you guys can see, like I said, they all have the hinges on them. So. And if you'd like, of course, you can have Little Godzilla imprisoned in them, and you can swivel him in to make it look like he's been, you know, captured, essentially. So, if this wants to cooperate for me, so. Try to line it up and put it inside there. So, but then you can have him displayed like that, like he's being captured. So, pretty cool. I like it. I mean, at least this is back during the days. This is one of MonsterArts' older releases, I believe, from 2012. So this is back in the days when they were doing a much better job at giving us accessories and what have you with their figures. So. Too bad that trend didn't continue over the years, really, but is what it is. So, anyways, nonetheless, pretty cool. Go ahead and put that off to the side. And next up, let's take a look at sizing here. So, again, Little Godzilla is supposed to be somewhat in scale, you know, as far as like the adult kaiju go and everything, although not entirely. But so you can see he is on the smaller side here. So if you look at him with the ruler here, I'll try and bring that in a little bit to showcase. So he's roughly about 3.5 inches in height, maybe a little bit over. So again, he's meant to be on the smaller side since he is a child kaiju. So, and just as a size comparison, I don't have the 90, I have the 94 Godzilla, I just don't have it out right now, but I brought out the 1989 Godzilla instead to just do a size comparison here for you guys, see how they size in together. So, not too bad. The only thing is Little Godzilla is really supposed to be like a third of Godzilla's height, so it's not really exactly in scale, but, you know, I mean, it works for what it is for sure. So, I like it. Anyways. Now, other than that, as far as pricing goes for Little Godzilla here, now that's the thing, you're going to be forced, unfortunately, to have to look in the aftermarket. I believe the MSRP on this guy, when it came out, I believe it's around $50, and let me double check on that. Alright, so I just want to double check. Yeah, so the MSRP on this guy was actually $43 when this figure came out. Nowadays, unfortunately, you got to pay to play, like I said, because it's in the aftermarket, and best bet is looking on places like eBay and whatnot. But just keep in mind, if you're looking to get him in package, you know, mint in box, whatever, your prices that I've seen nowadays are going for $200 and up. You can get them loose and maybe not necessarily with all the accessories. You can get them, you know, cheaper that way if you want to do that route. But even so, I still seeing that go for well over $100. So, you know, definitely something to keep in mind, folks. But, you know, again, if you're willing to pay to play, I think MonsterArts did a fantastic job with the figure, and the, you know, little accessory base here is pretty cool to have with them. So, nonetheless, you know, I mean, you know, just a cool piece to have for sure, and, you know, especially if you want a Little Godzilla in your collection. But other than that, though, folks, I think that pretty much covers it for this video. I would like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, please feel free to do so. If you would like to like and or comment on any of my videos, please feel free to do so as well. And just remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you be good to yourselves, and sayonara.